lacked accuracy. Ronald Simmons, the chief of the Infantry Weapons Evaluation Branch of the Department of the Army, had his people test-fire Oswald's Carcano rifle 47 times. Not a Carcano rifle, but Oswald's, the one found on the 6th floor, and testified the rifle was quite accurate. In fact, just as accurate as the American military rifle being used at the time, the M14. Indeed, the exact type of rifle Oswald used to kill Kennedy was still being used at the time by the Italian NATO rifle team in competition. Another argument made by the conspiracy theorists is that Oswald's Carcano had a hair trigger that would affect its ability to be fired with accuracy. The problem with this argument is that although the trigger pull of the Carcano at approximately 3 pounds is below average for most military rifles, a hair trigger only requires an extremely light pull, normally measured at 1 pound or less. So the Carcano's trigger pull was 3 times that of a hair trigger rifle. Perhaps the biggest argument of the conspiracy theorists is that even apart from the rifle, no one could possibly have hit Kennedy twice in the time Oswald had available to him, particularly Oswald. But, of course, the very best evidence that Oswald had the ability to fire his Carcano rifle within the subject time and with the requisite accuracy is that we know, from all the evidence, that he did. Conspiracy theorists naturally don't accept this. Oswald was known as a poor shot, missing the target in the military altogether as often as he hit it, says conspiracy theorist Harrison E. Livingstone. Kirk Wilson says that to those who knew him in the Marines, Oswald's marksmanship was a joke. Robert Groden, the self-proclaimed photography expert and Zapruder film guru, told readers of Rolling Stone magazine, "Unfortunately for the Commission, not one man in this entire country could duplicate the incredible feat attributed to Lee Harvey Oswald, who was, according to his Marine Corps records, a rather poor shot. The Commission hired some of the nation's best marksmen, gave them every advantage, and they still couldn't duplicate the shots." In the first place, Oswald's Marine Corps records do not show he was a rather poor shot and a joke as a marksman. To the contrary, as set forth earlier in this book, on December 21, 1956, during Oswald's most important shooting for the record, he fired a .212 out of a possible .250, which qualified him as a sharpshooter. And we know from Marina's Warren Commission testimony that Oswald practiced firing the rifle at Love Field and at a shooting range. Indeed, Oswald's friend, George de Mohrenschildt, told the Warren Commission that Marina, in referring to Oswald, said, "That crazy idiot is target shooting all the time," and that Oswald himself had told him, "I go out and do target shooting. I like target shooting." Second, even a cursory review of the record on this issue shows the charges of Groden and others in the conspiracy community to be false. As alluded to in the introduction, way back in 1964, the Warren Commission had 3 expert riflemen fire Oswald's Mannlicher Carcano rifle at stationary targets, head and shoulder silhouettes, located at distances of 175, 240, and 265 feet, the distances of 175 and 265 feet corresponding to the distances from the sniper's nest window to the presidential limousine at Z frames 210 and 313, respectively. The fact that the targets were stationary does not quite warrant the criticism the Commission has gotten from critics like Groden, since the critical point in trying to simulate what Oswald did was to compel the riflemen to move the muzzle between shots. And since the targets were separated from each other, the riflemen would have to move their muzzles in the same way they would have if the target were moving as Oswald's target was. None of the riflemen had any practice with Oswald's rifle except to operate the bolt for about 2 or 3 minutes, and did not have any practice with the trigger at all because of concern about breaking the firing pin. In any event, the best rifleman, one Specialist Miller, got off 3 shots using the telescopic sight within 4.6 seconds on the first of 2 series of 3 shots, and within 5.15 seconds on his second series. Using the iron sights, he got off 3 rounds in 4.45 seconds. The second and third riflemen, using only the telescopic sight, took 6.75 and 6.45 and 8.25 and 7.0 seconds, respectively, for the 2 series. Using the iron sights, Miller hit 2 out of the 3 targets, the same as Oswald. What can be clearly inferred from the information is that Oswald's rifle was certainly capable of being fired 3 times within as short a period as 4.45 seconds with the iron sights and 4.6 seconds with the telescopic sight, both of which are more than 3 full seconds less than we know Oswald had.